All right, look, Sacramento old money is way cooler than people think. Most people picture some giant gated mansion way out in the suburbs trying too hard to look important. And that's not really what Sacramento is all about. Around here, the real flex looks something a little bit more like Fab 40s at Golden Hour, McKinley Park a few blocks away, classic brick homes under a crazy beautiful tree canopy, and streets that feel expensive without having to shove it in your face. That's what I love about the city, and that's what makes it so fun once you actually get to know it. Now, some of the priciest places in the entire region are still not where the real old money lives, and once you see the pockets that have been carrying the most amount of weight, you're gonna start looking at Sacramento completely differently.
Now, we had a couple in town that were dead set on finding the biggest, newest luxury home possible. That was the mission. Before we got started, we went to grab a quick bite to eat in East Sac, rolled past McKinley Park under the crazy, beautiful tree canopy with the older brick homes sitting back off the street. And one of them literally yelled, "Wait, this is the vibe we're looking for." And that was it. The rest was history. The whole search changed in about 10 seconds. They stopped chasing bigger and started looking for streets that felt settled, homes with real bones, and neighborhoods that carried some weight without trying so hard. And that is Sacramento all day. The real prestige here is not screaming at you. It's a little quieter than that. It's a little older than that, which is exactly why the first place we're gonna take you to, everybody thinks they already understand it.
All right, first things first, you have to crack the code of this city or it fools you. A lot of people hear old money and picture Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the big white columns, massive gates, and a driveway that's longer than most people's commutes. Sacramento has money. It has polished luxuries here, estate pockets are here, but that's not the same as old money. Around here, old money is less about the spectacle and more about the staying power. It lives on blocks that never really go out of style, in neighborhoods where people hold on to these houses for generations, in places that don't need to rebrand every few years because they were already established long before the trend cycle showed up. Flash wants you to notice it. Permanence doesn't have to ask.
We had a couple come in wanting the biggest, newest luxury house they could find. Tall ceilings, giant island, clean finishes, the whole deal. We cut through East Sac near McKinley Park, rolled under that heavy canopy, past some of those older brick homes sitting deeper off the street, and one of them looked out the window and goes, "Why does this feel way more expensive even though those houses aren't as big?" The whole search changed right there because the street was doing most of the work. Less road noise, more shade, sprinklers clicking, slower traffic, morning dog walkers, old trees, brick houses with actual bones. Not the fresh paint and construction dust, not a neighborhood still trying to convince you it matters, but a place that has been solid for a long time. That feeling is the real old money signal. It doesn't hit like a sales pitch, it hits like gravity, pulling you into a world that didn't seem real. Lately, that difference has gotten even easier to spot. Sacramento is not some cheap little California secret anymore. Citywide, the median owner-occupied home is around $506,000, but the prestige pockets people romanticize can push buyers into the $600,000s to $900,000 plus conversation real fast, and sometimes way beyond that depending on the street, the lot, and the house. So no, Sacramento is not a bargain bin California, but it is cheaper than the Bay Area. Convenience works the same way. People shop by map, list price, and photos. Sacramento will humble that strategy real quick. The average commute is about 25 minutes, and more than 80% of trips still happen by car. Midtown and downtown can hit walkability scores in the 80 to 95 range, but a lot of the suburban pockets have a walkability score under 40. None of that makes one automatically better than the other. It means your day feels different depending on where you land. Old money understands that. A quiet block near the Capitol, a shaded stretch close to William Land Park, or the right pocket off of Fair Oaks Boulevard can carry more real legacy than a bigger house in a shinier setting. Now, bigger is obvious, legacy is felt. One shows you the money, the other shows you the history. The priciest place in the region is not always the deepest legacy play. Granite Bay can absolutely be elite, but elite and old money are not automatic synonyms in Sacramento. New money usually buys visibility, old money buys privacy. New money wants the house telling the whole story. Old money lets the street and the neighborhood handle that. It's a whole different beast. So when people think they're shopping for square footage and finishes, they get fooled. What they're really buying is a daily experience, morning shade or a longer windshield view, a block that feels locked in or a neighborhood still growing into itself, a house that photographs well today, or a location that has carried weight for a long time. Now, if you're serious about figuring out where you actually fit in Sacramento, don't guess your way through it. Don't make a 6 or 7 figure decision off of Zillow photos and a couple of weekend drive-bys.
We're Lance and Lauren with the Living in Sacramento team, where we specialize in providing you with the real guidance on how these neighborhoods actually live, feel, and fit their day-to-day life. We help people move here every single day, and we are your boots on the ground in this market. So if you're seriously considering Sacramento, whether that's this year, next year, or you're just starting to do your research, our contact information is going to be on that screen. It's going to be down in the description, and it'll be pinned in the chat. We'll walk you through the neighborhoods, the costs, the schools, the commutes, and real answers from people who actually live in this market. A lot of people know the ESAC legend long before they knew what built it. When you say old money in Sacramento, the Fab 40s come out real fast. But that's a weak answer if you ask me. If all you mean is big and pretty houses, the draw to East Sacramento runs a lot deeper than that. You take J over towards H, drive down to McKinley Boulevard, and the whole neighborhood starts carrying itself a little bit differently. Wider setbacks, older brick exteriors, houses that are not begging for your attention because they settled that argument a long time ago. The Fab 40s gets the glory because of the image people remember of Sacramento. White stucco in the late light, brick warming in the sun, tall chimneys, deep front lawns, big older sycamore trees throwing that gold filter across the street. Catch the rose garden near McKinley when the weather's right and the whole area feels like old Sacramento with better posture. Cars slow down, people look longer. East Sacramento never has to force it. East Sacramento started taking shape in the 1890s, then pushed farther east in the 1920s as the city grew beyond the old core. You still get that older layout all over the place, close enough to the capital to matter, close enough to Sacramento's old power center to draw people who wanted status without the downtown chaos outside of the front door. East Sacramento is still about 75% single family homes, which still helps keep that detached home rhythm buyers are still paying for. Push farther towards Sacramento Stateside or 65th Street corridor and you start seeing more change, more infill pressure, and a little bit more mix around the edges. River Park off to one side, Sacramento State pulling the map east, J and H keeping that older grid confidence intact. Then the Fab 40s sitting right in the middle of the conversation with the name people know before they knew the streets. Recognition matters here. Locals hear Fab 40s and instantly know the vibe. Buyers know the labels before the lot lines. Raw size loses the fight here all the time. A bigger house in a shinier suburb can beat East Sacramento on paper and still feel less important. The premium comes from the architecture, setting, history, and the fact that this neighborhood has held its pull through different markets and different waves of money. Less of look at what I bought and more of look at where I landed. And to be entirely honest, when Sacramento old money pops into your head, do you picture the Fab 40s first, or is there another pocket that hits a little bit harder for you? Go ahead and drop it in the comments. We read every single one. Now, East Sacramento is not the easy button. Older homes can mean more expensive systems, careful remodel decisions, and updates people actually notice. You don't bulldoze the character here and call it luxury. A blank box would be easier. Easier is not the draw. ESAC owns the symbol. Now, there's a neighborhood a little bit further south where the volume drops, the recognition softens, and daily life starts doing a little bit more of the talking. For a lot of people, that version of prestige ends up fitting even better.
Now, the funny thing about Land Park and Curtis Park, buyers rarely leave talking about status first. They leave talking about what a random Tuesday could look like here. And that reaction says more than a price point ever will. Land Park and Curtis Park pull people in with daily life, not a headline. Drive in and the whole mood loosens up. William Land Park pulls a ton of weight, and it has for a long time. The push to create it started in 1918. Construction got rolling in 1922. You still feel how much the neighborhood grew around that park. You've got big green edges, long sightlines, the zoo, fairy tale town, joggers, strollers, dogs, open grass, porch lights coming on later in the day. Nothing about it comes off stage. It comes off lived in. Now, the numbers back that up too. The broader Land Park area is still about 83% single family compared with roughly 75% in East Sacramento's broader area. We're talking more breathing room, more residential steadiness. All right, now Land Park also carries real size with roughly 33,800 residents and about 17,500 jobs. So this is not some tiny preserved pocket. We're talking real people, real routines, real neighborhood life. Now, Curtis Park changes the rhythm. You've got tighter grid, cozier scale, Sierra 2 nearby, Broadway not far off. Older homes with porches that still look like people use them. Calmer blocks, the kind of short walk you actually want to take. Curtis Park comes across warmer, tighter, a little more tucked in. This is where buyers stop admiring and start imagining themselves actually living there. A lot of buyers used to organize the whole search around shaving minutes off of a downtown commute. Hybrid work scrambled all of that math. Now the question is more practical. Can I walk the dog without it feeling like a chore? Can I get the kid to school, hit the park, grab coffee, and have the week flow better? Land Park and Curtis Park are strong in that lane. They are not winning on loud prestige. They are winning in front of porch neighborhoods, park-centered living, and the kind of warmth a lot of newer luxury still cannot fake. Land Park also has more range than people expect. South Land Park Hills picked up a notable mid-century layer, including 48 Eichler homes built in 1955 and 1956, which gives the broader Land Park story another note. None of that makes it effortless. Older homes still need maintenance. Updates still require taste. A lazy remodel here sticks out fast. People notice. That pressure keeps these neighborhoods from drifting into generic. Now, Land Park and Curtis Park win on livability. They feel like the kind of places where a normal week can actually look good. Keep driving because the next layer of Sacramento prestige gets trickier and way more local. Famous names stop helping over there. Street choice matters more than city name, and one wrong turn can make you miss the whole thing.
Now, people flatten Carmichael and Fair Oaks into one giant blob all the time, and that's exactly how they drive past some of the best pockets in all of Sacramento. Carmichael carries a little bit more density, a little bit more corridor influence, and a little bit more block-to-block variation. Fair Oaks, however, hangs on to a space a little bit harder. The lots get a little bit bigger, the streets get a little bit quieter, and it starts feeling a little bit more like a neighborhood that never got the memo about changing. One area gives you a little bit more transition, the other holds it shaped a little bit tighter. Continuing from J Street all the way through East Sacramento, Fair Oaks Boulevard is the spine of these two areas. The American River Parkway changes the entire mood, and Old Fair Oaks Village gives that side of the map a little bit more charm that Carmichael never really tried to compete with. Get off the obvious route and the vibe changes fast. One turn puts you near older strip retail, buses, and everyday traffic. Another area drops you into the more rural setting, bigger ranch homes, mature trees, proximity to the American River, and long driveways where the house reveals itself in pieces instead of all at once. Now, you can feel the difference without pulling up a single stat. Drive through Carmichael and you're gonna hit some blocks that feel totally dialed in and some that feel like they're still trying to figure it out. Fair Oaks is a little bit more consistent and the pride of ownership shows up faster. Nicer cars in the driveways, better landscaping, and homes that look like people have been taking care of them for a long time. Median owner values are going to come in somewhere around $579,000 in Carmichael and roughly $683,000 in Fair Oaks. You don't need a spreadsheet to notice the difference, but the stats line up what the windshield already tells you. Fair Oaks wears its charm a little bit closer to the surface, but Carmichael makes you work a little bit more for the good stuff. That's where the value and the deeper appeal hides. Some Carmichael streets read totally ordinary, and a few turns later you're staring at older custom homes, long driveways, mature landscaping, and quiet pockets that feel way more established than the broader label suggests. And heck, even at one point in time, Ronald Reagan thought it was a great idea to put the potential governor's mansion in Carmichael itself. That home is actually being listed right now for $7.5 million overlooking the American River, and it is absolutely a mid-century stunner. Now, Fair Oaks is easier to read fast. Carmichael rewards the slower look. Lazy shoppers get exposed over here all the time. You're not choosing between two different city names, you're choosing between the river and the village version of prestige, and the quieter ranch pocket version hiding off the boulevard. Both can absolutely carry its own way, and neither area rewards surface level searching. Now keep heading northeast because some of the subtle stuff starts giving way to something much bigger. The lots open up, the guarded gates show up, and the Sacramento prestige starts speaking in acreage, privacy, and a whole lot more sky. This is why we help people every single day figure out the lifestyle that's going to make the most sense for their situation. We don't just help you find a home, we help you figure out how you're going to make the Sacramento Metro work for you. So if you're thinking about making the move to the greater Sacramento Metro, we absolutely love connecting with you guys. Our phone number is going to be popping up one more time. It's going to be down in the description and pinned in the chat. And Lauren and I are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message. So we look forward to checking out. Now Lauren's going to take you up a little bit further.
Up here, Sacramento money stops living on the block and starts buying space around the block. That is a whole different read. The first thing that changes is not even the house, it's the distance. More space, longer setbacks, more windshield before the front door ever shows up. You get up around Douglas Boulevard, Sierra College, Auburn Folsom, start drifting towards Folsom Lakeside, and Granite Bay puts the wealth right in front of you. Bigger roof lines, cleaner edges, landscaping that already looks expensive from the curb. The stats fit that picture too. Owner occupancy sits around 90%, and the median income is roughly $184,000. Median owner value runs about $1.135 million. The median income is roughly $185,000. Even the land use tells on itself. About 23% rural estate, 20% rural residential, 16% rural low density residential, with roughly 28% open space. That is a place built to keep breathing room around the house and quiet around the street. Now, Loomis comes at it very differently. Get up around Horseshoe Bar Road, drift near the older town center side, then out toward the more rural stretches, and the money starts hiding a little better. Less polished for show, more wood fencing, older trees, longer drives, houses that sit back far enough to reveal themselves in pieces instead of all at once. Ownership is still strong there too, around 87.4%, but the broader profile shifts. Median owner value lands closer to $634,000 and the median household income sits around $82,000. More than 76% of the homes were built before 1990. So Granite Bay reads like a highly polished prestige suburb. Granite Bay is a small town with deep pockets where kids hang out at the private golf club before school dances and take pictures by the lake. Now Loomis reads like a real town with money woven through it. Loomis has that small town charm where everybody knows everybody. The town supports all the local businesses and everyone, I mean everyone in town is at the high school football games every Friday night. Now the split gets even better after dark. Granite Bay in the daytime looks bright, composed, almost showroom clean in certain pockets. Loomis at night gets quieter, darker, and heavier in the best way. Fewer lights, longer gaps between houses, more of that tucked into the land feeling of where privacy starts carrying as much weight as the house itself. Now, Granite Bay shows you the wealth early. Loomis makes you notice it slower. So which one pulls you more? Granite Bay with the sharper polish and obvious status, or Loomis with the quieter land and privacy vibe? Drop it in the comments. A lot of buyers assume this is the top of the prestige ladder just because the lots get bigger and the gates start showing up. And that's not automatic. Granite Bay is not East Sac with more square footage, and Loomis is not Land Park with acreage. They solve for a very different kind of buyer entirely. Granite Bay fits people who want visible affluence, strong schools, protected suburban polish, and a place that feels dialed in. Loomis hits harder for people who want more land, more privacy, more variation, and a setting that still feels like a town under all the property value. Now, neither one is the easy button. Granite Bay comes with high expectations and a very specific suburban rhythm. Loomis gives you more freedom, but that usually means longer drives, more land to manage, and a routine that only works if you actually want more separation from everything else. And that is where people get themselves crossed up, because price, privacy, legacy, visibility, and fit are not all the same conversation. Mix those up and you can spend a fortune chasing the wrong kind of prestige.
All right, here's where people spend a fortune and still end up with the wrong life. They buy the kitchen. It happens all the time. Big island, new cabinets, 3-car garage, backyard all cleaned up and camera ready. The listing pops, the photos hit, the house feels like a win. Then the week starts. Longer drive, more time in the car, less connection to the neighborhood, fewer reasons to stay out once you get home. The house still looks great, but the day-to-day starts to wear on you faster than expected. That's the Sacramento trap. Old money and new money are not just two different looks around here, they solve for two completely different versions of life. Old money usually buys into a block that already has status before you ever showed up. New money usually buys more control inside the property lines. Old money leans on scarcity, social weight, and location that matters for decades. New money leans on the square footage, the finishes, and its easier upkeep and cleaner first impressions. One lets the street carry the value, the other asks the house to carry more of it. You feel that difference fast in Sacramento. One version puts you closer to McKinley Park mornings, William Land Park hoops, or those quieter Fair Oaks pockets. The other gives you the shiny house first and makes the rest of the routine work out harder. Neither one is fake, neither one wins by default.
The market makes that mistake more expensive now. Interest rates change the game. Monthly payment matters more than old list price logic. Inventory is still tight in a lot of desirable pockets because owners locked into better mortgages do not want to move. Bay Area migration still matters, but it's not the whole movie anymore. Local buyers are back in a much bigger way, and Sacramento is acting less like a giant relocation wave and more like a stack of mini markets with different rules. A lower sticker price does not always mean an easier move. A newer house does not always mean a better fit. A more expensive address does not always mean a better week. People see the cleaner house, the easier finishes, the lower maintenance setup, and assume the whole life will feel easier too. Then the drive starts, the air and loop gets clunky, the block has less pull than expected, and the house that looked perfect in photos starts asking them to live a routine they never really wanted. Not which one looks richest. A better question is, which version of Sacramento still makes sense after the keys hit your hand? Which one works when the photos stop doing the heavy lifting and your real life week takes over? That's the real filter. Not just what looks good from Auburn, Folsom, or Douglas, not just what shines near the Parkway or McKinley, but what actually works when Tuesdays show up. A $1 million house can still leave you cold by Wednesday. A smaller place on the right street can feel right every single time you come home. Miss that distinction and you can spend a lot of money chasing the wrong version of what gets you through what you thought you wanted. Now it gets personal because after all of this, only one question really matters. which version of Sacramento Prestige actually fits you.
So the real question after all of that is which version of Sacramento Prestige actually feels right once the keys are in your hand. The better move is figuring out which version of Sacramento actually fits the way you want to live. ESAC is still the answer for the right person who wants the strongest name, the clear social signals, and a block that already had gravity before you ever got there. Fab 40s, McKinley Park nearby, older architecture that does a lot of the talking for you. That lane makes complete sense for somebody who wants history, recognition, and a neighborhood people already understand without needing an explanation. Land Park and Curtis Park pull a different person. Tree shade that actually helps when it's hot, not just when a drone is flying overhead. That fit lands best for somebody who wants beauty that they can actually settle into. Less performance, more rhythm, more my life would work well here. Carmichael and Fair Oaks usually hits the buyer that doesn't need the headline neighborhood. They need the right pocket. Fair Oaks Boulevard, the Parkway, Old Fair Oaks Village, bigger lots, older custom homes, mature landscaping, quieter stretches where the house doesn't give itself away all at once. That pool is less about the broad recognition and more about finding the street that feels right the second you turn onto it. Granite Bay and Loomis solve for a completely different daily setup. Douglas Boulevard, Sierra College, Auburn, Folsom. Folsom Lakeside if you want that cleaner, polished, more visible affluence. Horseshoe Bar Road if you want older town center stretches, darker roads, bigger gaps between homes. If you want more land, more privacy, and a place that keeps a little bit more to itself, Granite Bay reads sharper and more dialed in. Loomis reads quieter, looser, and more tucked into landscape. And here's the part that people still underestimate about Sacramento.
Convenience is not one thing. A predictable 25-minute routine can beat a closer location that turns every day into a headache. Midtown and downtown can hit walkability in the 80 to 95 range. A lot of prestige suburbs sit under a 40 walking score. More than 80% of trips around here still happen by car. So the real question is not urban versus suburban or old money versus new money. It's what kind of friction you can live with and what kind of routine actually makes your week easier. If you've made it this far, you can probably already feel which one sounds the most like you. Trust your intuition a little and tell us in the comments which kind of prestige actually fits you, because that answer usually tells you more than price ever will. $1 million house can still be wrong for your life. A less flashy house on the right street can hit harder than the bigger win you thought you wanted. Around Sacramento, the smartest buyers are not chasing the loudest label. They are matching the right neighborhood type to the right routine, the right place, and the right version of prestige for them. And once that clicks, the whole city stops feeling like a status puzzle and starts feeling a whole lot easier to navigate.
Sacramento Prestige does not live in one place. It's in a bunch of very different lives hiding under the same label, and that's exactly why people get the city wrong when they shop too fast. We have worked with so many people who came in convinced that they wanted the flashier answer. Then one drive through the right neighborhood changed the whole search, because then they realized they were not really buying status, they were buying the life wrapped up around the house. That's when the guessing gets expensive here, not because you need to panic, but because Sacramento is one of those places where the wrong assumption can send you into the wrong routine, the wrong commute, and the wrong version of success of how you actually wanted to live life here. So if you're moving to Sacramento, buying here, selling here, or you're trying to figure out which part of this region actually fits you, our phone number is going to be popping up on the screen right now. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, and we absolutely love connecting with you guys. So go ahead, pause the screen, take a screenshot, or feel free to scan the QR code and book your one-on-one strategy session. Then go watch the best neighborhoods in Sacramento for every lifestyle, because this one showed you where the prestige lives, and that one's going to help you figure out where your daily life actually fits best.
See you on the next one.